Why games felt more alive back then. There's this feeling a lot of us have when we think about older games, but it's hard to describe properly. It's not about the graphics and it's not really about the nostalgia either. It's that games used to feel more, alive, like the world existed whether you were there or not. You could put up and lose hours without constantly checking objectives or thinking about progress. It's something about that pulled you in quietly without forcing anything. When people try to explain this, they usually point on technology or budgets, but that explanation never fully works. Modern games look incredible. They have massive worlds, realistic animations, and more content than ever before. If progress alone made games better, then today's games should feel more, unbeatable. But a lot of the time they don't. So something else changed. It has more to do with how games were designed than how powerful the hardware was. Older games trusted the players more. They didn't constantly explain themselves and they didn't try to guide you through step of every way. You were expected to pay attention, to learn through failure, and to figure things out on your own. Maps had to be remembered, systems had to be understood, and progress felt earned. That friction mattered because effort creates attachment. When a game doesn't hand you all the answers, your brain fills the gaps, and that's when the world starts to feel real. Now, a lot of modern games try to remove that friction in the name of accessibility. Everything is marked, highlighted, optimized, so you never feel lost. The problem is that when mystery disappears, so does immersion. Worlds stop feeling like places and start feeling like interfaces. You're not exploring anymore, you're following instructions, and that subtle shift changes everything. Now, another big difference is that older games were built around systems rather than spectacle. NPCs had routines, environments, reacted to small choices, and things continued to happen. Even though you weren't directly involved, you didn't feel like the center of the universe, you felt like part of something larger, like a visitor in a world that didn't revolve around you. Modern games often flip the idea completely. Everything waits for you, triggers only when you arrive, and exists mainly to impress you. When nothing happens without your input, the world stops feeling alive. Older games had less content, yes, but what was there felt intentional. Maps were smaller, quests were fewer, and playtime was shorter. Yet somehow these moments stuck with you. Every area had a reason to exist, and very little felt like filler. Today, games are often so massive, filled with endless tasks that blur together. There's more to do, yes, but it's less to remember. Quantity replaces meaning and the world starts to feel hollow instead of alive. Imperfection played a role too. Older games were janky in ways that modern games aren't allowed to be anymore. Animations were stiff, AI behaved unpredictably, and systems sometimes broke in strange ways. But those imperfections made the world feel, more human, more attached. Things that didn't always, go as planned and that they unpredictably created stories you remembered. Modern games polish everything until it's flawless, and in doing so, they remove the chaos that makes the experience feel more real, more grounded. And it's easy to say that this feels comes from being younger, the nostalgia and all the work that comes with it, but that's not entirely true. Even now, every once in a while, a game comes along that brings back that feeling, not because it's technically impressive, but because it respects the player's curiosity and allows silence, confusion, discovery, and to exist together. That feeling hasn't disappeared, it just became more rare. Games felt more alive back then, yes, they did, because they weren't afraid to slow down. They didn't chase constant engagement or optimize every second of attention. They trusted that the players would sit with quiet moments, get lost, and find meaning on their own. Maybe the goal was never to make bigger or louder games, but to create worlds that didn't need us to function. When that happens, games stop feeling like products and start feeling like places.